Welcome to Picksburgh, everybody. My name is Anthony, and joining me this week, we have a special guest. We have my guy, Blaised McCoy from Blaised Radio over here on YouTube. I'd appreciate it if you guys would give him a follow. I also have his Instagram scrolling down below with a link to his channel in the description. But Blaised, man, I appreciate you coming on today, man. If you could just give everybody a quick rundown of like who you are, what your channel's all about.
Yeah, I'll make it seem like I'm important. There you go. Thank you. I'll be here. Basically, I normally do this when I do my interviews. So, and I will be interviewing you in a couple of weeks. So this is normally what I like to do in my interviews, kind of give a background on what I've done and how I've got here to YouTube. As a retail manager for a couple of years, I sold sporting goods and then computers and then cell phones. So luckily enough to be selling PCs during the PC boom in the early 2000s, selling cell phones in the cell phone boom of the 2010s. And ever since I was probably 6 or 7 years old, collecting cards and selling them. I took a long time off from that. As I got older, went to college, got different jobs and stuff like that. I didn't collect as much, but if I would see cards in a store, I couldn't help but buy a pack or two just to open them. I talked to you about this before, where I think the collecting has turned into from collecting to investing, because it became worth money, to now pretty much gambling. And the prices are astronomical. I mean, it drives me nuts to get 4 or 5 cards in a pack, where I'm so used to 20 some cards. And I'm an old school collector. I'm 49 years old. I'll be 50 in August. And I collected the junk wax era mostly. And unfortunately, it hurts to see a lot of those cards not worth as much as I thought I could retire and put my kids through college on my Bo Jackson rookies and my Dion rookies and my Ryan Sandberg rookies. And didn't work out that way. But I'm a graphic designer also on the side, a marketing degree. So I love the designs of cards. I obviously took my collecting a little further with jerseys. I have one for every NBA team here, a lot of Steelers stuff. You see collectibles down here like starting lineups and wrestling figures and my favorite Spider-Man, stuff like that. So I'm a big collector when it comes to all things sports and everything attached to it. The weirdest story I think I got is how me and you ended up meeting up. Mm-hmm. I mean, the fact that we have similar friends that we didn't know about and a connection with wrestling that that brought us kind of together, and we have a lot in common. I mean, you've helped me out in things, I've helped you out in things, and the relationship is just amazing. And about 7 years ago, with some health issues, I'm at home, and I started watching people on YouTube, and I'm like, this is really amazing. I'm not a gamer. A lot of people think I'm a gamer because I do like a little e-fed with a wrestling game, but I'm not a gamer. I'm Atari, Commodore 64, old school type of gamer. But I don't know if people out there and you guys remember, they started doing commentary on video games. Like you'd see Call of Duty or someone, they're doing something silly on GTA and people are commentating on it. And I love that. And I've never done radio. I've never done announcing, which I wish I would have. But through a wrestling game on Facebook, I had an old e-fed, which is basically create your own character. And there's like a dungeon master. I compare it to Dungeons and Dragons, but in a wrestling format. And all I want to do is bring people together. So I've met people all over the world here on YouTube. It's been a blessing to me meeting some of these wonderful people. And it's just, I've met so many people that inspire me, is what I like to say. And as a manager, when I managed, I always told my employees and people that work for me, don't pick one person and try to be just like them. Pick a lot of people and take the best of all of them and make your own mold. And I like to let people be who they are. I've always been that way. I've raised the right way. And my little saying for my channel is, it doesn't matter who you are, what you are, where you are, or how you are. You're more than welcome on my channel. And
awesome.
I think that's something me and you have in common. We're super friendly. We really, I give everyone the benefit of the doubt, sometimes to a fault.
Yeah.
And in today's world, once I got back into YouTube and doing content, I have Blaised cards. So I have a YouTube stream that I like to do here on cards. I've only done a couple of them. You were involved in them as well. then I started to get my cards graded and sending them away and getting back into going to a couple shows. But I'm trying real hard not to cross the lines and start talking about anything we're going to talk about on our interview
For sure.
weeks. But YouTube has brought me, I mean, a lot of people say it's toxic. It's only that. It's only bad if you let it be.
Absolutely.
I think what I've done is trying to hone my skills as far as graphic designing, creating logos, creating thumbnails. I'm a very organized to almost an OCD type thing where I have lists and notes of everything that I do or say, everything around me. It's kind of weird today to not have any notes or paper in front of me. So it's kind of a good thing because talking about cards, talking about collecting, it comes natural. It's something I've done ever since in my parents' basement. I had a card shop and a laundry room, and kids from the neighborhood would come over and they would look at the cards. I would have a couple boxes to sell because I'd buy them at wholesale. And rip off the kids if you can and get the cards that, that was the name of the game back then. Have fun. And I had my specials. Like, I know you're a Cleveland Cav fan, collect LeBron. I got a lot in my PC that I collect. I was a big Don Mattingly collector. I have tons of Don Mattingly cards. I know you were talking that last week about that.
Yeah.
And, I should break some of those out because I literally have half of a monster box full of Mattingly cards.
That's awesome.
When I played basketball, a lot of people said I look like Brent Barry. So I collected Brent Barry and Rex Chapman for a while. Well, when I had hair. and I could dunk the ball. I'm 6'3". I was one of those white guys that could jump. And I love basketball. It's my favorite sport. Football close behind. But obviously with cards, you got to talk about baseball. Because, that's where the root of collecting started back in the tobacco card days and things like that. And I was blessed to have an uncle that had tons of cards from the 50s and 60s. Like, I'm talking tons. Not in the early 50s, but, late 50s all the way through 60s up to 70s. And he had me just look through his cards. He said, if there's anything, I was just amazed. Mickey Mantle, Willie Mays, all these stars and legends that I would never find those cards. And he said, anything you see 2 or 3 of, just take it. And I'm like, huh? I was like, you literally have 4 of these, you're like 69 Mantles. I was like, are you sure? He's like, yeah. He's like, take it. My pleasure. And so that got me going even more. I would go to every Sunday, we'd go to a flea market here, and they would have 12 to 15 vendors that were literally cards. And I enjoyed going there and just selling single cards, these cards. I mean, it's changed so much. And obviously with what happened with COVID, really boosting it back up. People stuck at home, cards became a big thing again. And now we're seeing kind of a drop off again in prices. But at the same time, my major gripe was during that stuff, I couldn't find packs of cards.
Yep.
Plus, I don't want to pay $200 for a box of cards. So that's just the way I am. So, and I know you gotta give to get when it comes to collecting. And you got to put in a lot of work. I mean, I'm one of those guys where if you see my cards in monster boxes by player, by year, organized to the T. It sucks right now that I also have a ton of monster boxes of commons I don't know what to do with. I'll never use them. I'll never touch them. But I love opening wax. For some of my streams, I was doing play-by-play for NFL Red Zone every Sunday. And I was like, I got to make it a little more interesting, do something else. So one of my followers actually sent me 5 or 6 boxes of cards and said, my mom found these in the attic. Here, you can have them. Unfortunately, it was just, 90 score pro set and stuff. So I was opening packs like these on the air. I mean, just to have maybe a Barry Sanders rookie come out of it. So like little packs like these, which are older than a lot of people that I meet on YouTube. You realize when you're talking 30 years plus. Yeah. I like I said, as a graphic designer, I like the art as well. So I'm really involved in what the layout of the card looks like, the design of that year. And I really miss the days when there was just one rookie card.
Yeah, I actually do too. I mean, it's getting like, especially like being somebody that likes to collect certain like things like players and teams. It's so hard to collect every single rookie of that player.
And I mean, when I started, Topps, Donruss, Fleer, that was it. Upper Deck came along. Monstar, there's my buddy Sean from Canada. Good to see you. Thanks for stopping in. Share this out if you can. Just a little something different. He invited me over, so I figured I would drop in and share my stories. I have a different take on a lot of collection than a lot of people that are severely collectors nowadays. I was just telling Picksburgh here that I don't really care if it's a elephant, parallel, rainbow, lightning bolt. I look for the players. I'm one of those guys who still gets cards and looks at the back and looks for stats.
Yeah.
And it's kind of sad because they don't do that much. Like,
yeah,
be able to get their
now
whole
it's
career.
like, even if they do, it might be like the most current year or like the last several, but not like their entire career.
Well, there's a little thing called this that changed a lot of stuff too. Cell phones.
Oh yeah, absolutely.
And the fact that you got all the information you got for every player every year right here, maybe less, I don't know. I don't know the idea behind it, but I really miss the way old school cards. I remember 78 Topps baseball. 78 Topps baseball had a little script in the bottom right corner or left corner for the name. The team. Brother. I don't know if you remember 78 Topps?
Yep.
On the back, there was a game. It said triple, double, fly out, ground out.
Uh-huh.
So I had almost that whole set except for a couple, but I'm here shuffling them. I'm playing games with them. I'm playing I would set up a field and set everybody at their position. So my Ricky Henderson rookie was destroyed from 80 Topps because I played with them. I know a lot of people used to put them in the spokes of their bikes and stuff, yep. Weird things like that. But I sometimes if I go past a flea market, a yard sale, something like that, I can't help but stop and look.
Oh yeah, absolutely. That's the best, is like when you're going through like flea market bins, and like everything is cheap at the flea market. And even if it has a price, like that's not necessarily what its price is. That's what I love about the flea market. Everybody's willing to barter.
Well, that's the bottom, the end all be all to collecting, is it's only worth what you can get someone to buy it for.
Correct.
And there's guidelines how eBay is now the Beckett book that they still have the Beckett's and stuff, but you had your Beckett book back in the 80s and 90s. That was the Bible. Here's how much it's worth. Now, granted, to print out a magazine for some of you kids that are out there, might be younger, there was this thing called magazines back in the day. And
which is funny because who's doing the magazine now? PSA.
Nice.
And there's even somewhat
really cool
pricing information on the inside. Like this one I haven't opened because it's LeBron, but like I had the newest one that just came out, and they actually do have some like pricing charts and stuff in there now.
That reminds me of I still have, I think it was 85 and 86 Topps baseball. They made folders, big huge folders for school, but it was the actual card, legit large version of the card. I tried to start collecting odds and ends in that time of year back in the late 80s, early 90s. Like on the bottom of a box, they would put 4 cards. I have tons of those, but I don't think they're worth very much. I collected errors because I thought an error is going to be rarer than the regular card because there's not as many. So I have a whole binder full of error cards. Yeah. Some are worth a little bit, some aren't. But then again, you got to find that collector that wants those things nowadays. Yep. You got to have this. You got to have money to be a hardcore collector nowadays. Yep. You find something in the wild. I mean, you never know when grandma throw away some kids is trying to get rid of their collection. I mean, every time my dad starts to tell me the story, I stop him. He's like, your grandmother threw away my cards, and I know I had, and he's pointing to the 52 mantle that I'm showing him, saying, I know I had that one. I'm like, don't tell me that. Don't tell me that.
Yeah. I can only imagine, man. Like I'm at least happy in the sense that most of my collection that I no longer have was junk wax, being that I grew up in that era. But like I can think of several cards that I had that are like more valuable now. Like obviously the Dan Marino rookie in a decent grade is valuable. The Elway rookie in a high grade is valuable. But like, I mean, even like a Jerome Bettis rookie in a high enough grade can be valuable if it's the right card. Yeah. Like one of those SP cards that's like all shiny or whatnot. Like I have an 8 and I'm pretty sure it's listed on eBay for like $40 right now in an 8.
Because you can't, like I was saying about ripping off the little kids and the people that didn't know better, you can't really do that nowadays. All they got to do is go to eBay.
Oh my God, yeah, it's super easy for everybody to know what the going rate is. And honestly, sometimes like kids, like the crazy thing is walking around a card show, most of the kids probably have better cards than I do. And that's like not a knock on the collection I have. That's like applaud to like some of these kids building these like multi-$1,000 collections and walking around with these cases just full of like insane cards.
Now, I am very old school, so I come from the era of collecting a set to get every card in the set. That's what we did back then. We tried to collect everybody in the set. Now, there was some of those collectors, friends of mine, that instead of going for the set, they just went for, oh my God, bad example. Greg Jeffries, rookie in 1989 for the Mets, was a hot rookie for a while. Yeah. Just get 50 of them instead of collecting the set. I didn't do that. If I had 2 or 3 of a card, I really didn't look for that one anymore because I wanted to complete sets. If I knew how, useless that basically. I mean, it was the sense of accomplishment of finally getting those last couple cards.
You could theoretically do that because getting 1 box back in the day got you close to a full set.
Yeah.
Then you might need to get like booster packs to kind of fill in where you needed to. Tommy, what's up, my man? Good to see you, brother.
Well, it was just a little hint back then too, when the update sets, the traded sets started coming out. Series 2, they started doing that stuff. And then you got those rookies on top of the other ones. And I could see where it was going, and the mass production that they started doing. And then the next thing you know, and you guys talked a little bit about Panini last week. And I mean, it's close to a monopoly. I mean, there's not a lot of variety of companies out there anymore.
Yep.
And it's frustrating as a hardcore collector that wants to collect. Like, I'm to the point now, I want to get rid of almost my whole collection and just keep a PC.
Yep.
So
that's kind of what I've been doing lately. And even like stuff that's been in my PC, if it's not something I'm like super attached to, I've even been listing it because then it's like I'm able to go out and like you saw like your Topps Chrome LeBron is like something like that I've like dreamed of having like my whole life because like I went and was like, I guess I don't need like 50 plus Isaac Okoro autographs. You know what I mean? And I listed like that kind of stuff. Like I'm now able to like afford those type of cards.
But as happy as I was with that card and as great condition it was, and I had my friend look at it through a fine-tooth comb, it came back a 9. I mean, as perfect as that thing looked, and that was legit, straight out of a pack into a hard case right away.
Yeah.
Hardly ever touched or messed. So you can't really, and I was just showing you from, you can't control a lot of things like cards that are literally bent, curved, coming out of the pack. I mean, this is...
Yep.
I have a bunch that were like this that I left under my bed or in the basement where it's cold, and I pull them out like, oh, they're all warped. But I mean, you got to take the good with the bad, and it's frustrating. Like I've told you my frustrations with signature cards and cards that have pieces of jerseys and crap like that in there. I am terrible at that. If I get a pack to get an autograph or something, it's the most obscure person that you can get. And I'm not lucky with that stuff. Plus, like I told you, I don't buy the hobby boxes and the real expensive stuff to get the super rare stuff.
Yeah.
And I'm afraid to because of my luck. And I mean, that's the gambling aspect that I take it to. A year ago, it was trying to find cards. And I would sit here on YouTube channels where they would be at 3 a.m. to 5 a.m. waiting for Target to drop whatever could be dropped that week and hoping I can grab some. And your buddy Dom has a good point too. They started putting cards on back of, Drake's Cakes and all kinds of Hostess and weird. You could find obscure cards somewhere, and you'd think that they're not going to make as many as a Topps or a Donruss would. So wouldn't they be worth more in the long run? Not really.
You would think.
It's a crapshoot. I mean, you go by rarity, number 1. You go by the player, number 2, I would think, and brand. And now there's so much involved in it. Like you can get a Chronicles box and get all these different ones, but is it worth as much as the actual one from that box? You know what I'm saying? Because there's basically, like we just said, umpteen amount of rookie cards for each person. So you got it. So I had to stop collecting baseball. I said, forget baseball, basketball, and football is all I want. But I did collect wrestling cards from back in the day. I remember a wrestling magazine that had a bunch of them in it, and I wanted to play. I wanted the cards, so I cut them. I cut them up and have them, and these were like 84, 85 or something like that. See that now you're getting into the look of the cards. Love the prism, platinum cards, and prism cards. You can tell they're produced a little higher quality, in my opinion. To see a card that has this much detail, shine, a great design on it, that's what I look for.
I love this. Mark just says, I was the skinny guy until Hostess started putting baseball cards on their boxes.
Well, just imagine if you were around in the early 1900s, you can only get them through tobacco.
Yeah, that would definitely not bode well for staying away from, lung cancer and all those type of
and it's like, I think,
related things.
I can't believe it. It's like 2 years since I met you in Monroeville for that show.
Yeah.
And that wasn't even a real big one, like a national or something. I was overwhelmed just walking around. And I remember talking to you. You were digging in them bargain boxes trying to find gold like you do so well. And I said, I'm going to go hunting for wrestling cards. And you were like, I think one guy in the back might have a few. I went to every table, could not find any. So I'm thinking maybe that's something to get into now. And then now they're starting to produce more wrestling cards and they've become, a little more popular. I don't know. You know more than I do about that, but I've seen you and the chef ripping some of those hobby boxes and getting some really cool stuff in the WWE product. And I did buy the AEW set. When it came out, I found it for $30 online, bought their whole set. So I have that whole set, and I bought their proof, the one-page proof that they put out before really cool. They started.
Yeah, I remember that one.
And I mean, I'm not a big comic book collector, but I knew that if you saw a number one in a comic book, you want to get that one. So back from the 80s, I have a number one Transformer comic book, 1, 2, and 3, and 4. Those are, so I have a little bit of comic collection. Most of them's cards. All these starting lineups that I got back here, they're all from the first and second year starting lineup, and I still have some of those in the box. But the problem is even in a plastic bag, the plastic turned yellow. Some of it just fell apart. The cardboard, can either mold or, it can warp. And so you're not going to get a mint starting lineup, unless you really took care of it.
Yeah. Man, and who would have thought, like, back in the day that those things would have taken, like, the tumble that most of those have to, like, value-wise? Like, I mean, I guess some people might have called that, but I mean, man, I remember how hot those were when I was a kid. Like, I remember like every Christmas I had to get 2 or 3 starting lineups under my tree. It was like the coolest thing, take them.
Well, they just came back with them, but they're a different form factor. They're a little bigger, more articulation, just a little different, but same idea. But stuff like that, I mean, it was, the little coins, the pogs, all kind of things to collect. I mean, garbage pail kids cards. Like if I knew that first year I could have collected that whole set, they were right in front of me. Every time I went and got cards, there was garbage pail junk here I never thought I'd want.
Yeah.
But little did I know, if I could have had a ton of those Pokemon cards, those things have blown up. I got
That's a cool fun fact here. I remember as a kid, this Honus Wagner card was like the most like expensive card ever.
Yes.
And I always wanted it because it was a pirate. And I was like, wow, like a Pittsburgh player is the most expensive card like ever. Like I have to get that one day. And the story behind it is wasn't like Honus was like the best player ever. It's just that he didn't want cigarettes promoting his likeness. So he had his cards pulled, which made him super scarce. So.
I've even seen like one of those cards, like literally half of the card sell for 6 figures and whatnot. Like not even the whole card, just a ripped in half Honus Wagner or something. Another thing that kind of frustrates me is before you had to have your cards for a while before they were worth big time value. Yeah. I mean, in the 80s and 90s, there was no pack of cards that you're opening where you're getting $1,000 card out of a pack. It didn't happen. Rarely $100 card. I mean, in baseball, 85, 86, you were looking for strawberries, good ones, and stuff like that.
Mm. But I was always that person going, like, looking for the little hanger packs that, like, you could see through. And I was always looking for a Steeler or a Pirate or a Penguin or a Cavalier on the outside of it. And that was typically how I picked my packs of cards. I never really got, like, the big boxes because, like, it was always, like, my mom taking me and a friend, getting us each something small at the shop, typically when we go. Typically that friend was Marty too, which fun, it's crazy. Like all these years later, we're still like chasing cards together. But Derek, that's interesting. He says McFarlane's also kind of fallen off a little bit price wise. And Derek, I'd love to have you on sometime too to talk about toys and stuff because your knowledge on toys is insane, man. And real quick too, while we have a little bit of a break in the action with Mark here, I want to take a minute to thank him and his partner Bryce. They're going to be putting on the Picksburgh Card Show next month. They were kind enough to give the podcast some free tickets that we're able to give to some people that are watching that want to come to the show. So if you can attend the show and you would like free tickets, just comment "Thank you, Mark" in this video. And next week on Huddle's channel, we will announce the first giveaway winner. But every single week until the card show, I'm going to be giving away at least 2 tickets.
Sweet.
So, and that's 2 tickets to like one person, so you can take a friend with you. Again, just thanks, Mark, down in the comment section, and that'll make you eligible for those tickets.
Is that the South Point show?
Yeah, it'll be the one in South Point. Yep.
Cool.
Actually, let me show the it's this right here, the one in South Point. The key point signer there is going to be Darrell Rivas.
Oh, sweet. So yeah, I was you were mentioning it a little bit. I was a poke and peeker when I was a younger. There was literally the NBA hoops first year. You could see the card, you could poke it, you could see who it was. Plus, they had the format, which depending on which cards in the front, you knew if you're getting a David Robinson or a Jordan in that pack because of the way that they packed them. Yeah. So I literally had cards with, if you see this guy on the top, there's a Jordan in that pack, and it always happens. So I would be sitting there with hanger packs or cello packs or whatever they called them back then, and you could literally poke. And little did I realize I'm damaging cards at the same time.
Yeah,
but you can find a
TW. I'll just give you a quick update. We haven't really done any like official videos on it or not, but it's actually the opposite. TGT was acquired by Arena Club, so it's another grading company. They're partnered with Derek Jeter. So that's actually why you don't see a whole lot of TGT stuff anymore, because they're now operating with Arena Club. Well, under Arena Club, I should say.
Grading's another. I know some of this show, and I apologize to you people out there who are hardcore collectors. I'm gonna sound like the angry grandpa telling kids to get off my lawn, because it pains me to see how the card world is right now. I love to see, the fact that it's really voluptuous and it's all over the place and there's tons of different cards, but breaks are very frustrating to me. To see a guy open a box of cards and just unwrap, throw a slab down, unwrap, throw a pack down, and not look at any of those cards, and then just through the cards, that hurts me. My heart drops, because I'm like, I want to look at each individual card, not just no big hit in this one. That frustrates me. I miss the old school sit down and enjoy opening a box of cards and looking at them, just really looking at the cards. And grading has changed the industry, obviously, tremendously. To a point, it's good. To a point, I can sit here and complain about it, because
I remember when like just a little bit of a soft corner wasn't that big of a deal. Back in like the 90s, you're like, oh, there's no creases on that card, or you know what I mean? It's like, not completely like warped or X, Y, or Z.
Well, the fact that AI coming into play and stuff too, I don't know. I'm like, is it better or good? I always think, and a little bit more about this too, being a little more involved in it. When you hire a grader, you better really hire a good person that, because if he has a bad day, say a grader has a bad day, they're pissed off at the world and they come into work, are they going to legit do their job the way they should and grade those cards accordingly? Or are they going to let their emotions take over? I don't know.
I would hope that like they'd be able to be professional enough to not let their emotions take over. But I know as a human being, like when you're going through something, sometimes it's hard not to let your emotions take
That's
over.
my point.
I mean?
So do you think AI would kind of solve that? Because now you just have a computer looking at it, scanning it, eyeballing it, coming close and giving it a grade. I mean, it is 2023. We're supposed to have flying cars and hoverboards at this point. So having an AI grade a card, I don't have a problem with that. I've seen a lot of.
If it's accurate enough, I think it could be a good thing. But again, I think it's valuable having people too. So, to each their own, kind of either way.
having subgrades is a big thing for me. I really like the fact of having subgrades and being able to look at the scans and see why it was wrong. And there's a lot of things that you talked to me about that more companies are doing now, which makes sense to me. I mean, you send it away to a random kid. You don't know who's grading it. They send it back, and you just got to take their word for it. And it could mean hundreds or thousands of dollars for you. Absolutely. You know, that card, you thought it was a 10, which is worth 10 grand. It comes back at 9. It's worth 2 grand, if that, depending on the player and all. There's so many variables. You can see how people can get their head twisted around it. And you really have to pick your own niche, pick what you like, your team, your player, and concentrate on that.
Yep. And as far as like that goes, and even like deciding what to grade, like my strategy has completely changed from like what it's been like over the past few years, because right now, like back in like the pandemic or shortly after, you could grade basically any of like the young rookies or any of like the all-star caliber players, and they all were valuable because somebody wanted to buy them. But like now it's like, even if it's like a LaMelo Ball, sometimes that's difficult to move because everybody and their mom has like 800, base Prism LaMelo Ball cards or whatnot.
See, Dawn bringing up another point about breaks, getting your hands on stuff and you can't find stuff in the wild. It is gambling too. And that's true. And the more I looked into breaks, and I knew a couple people that were doing them, and then I go and really look through all these videos of people doing breaks. Then there's these videos of people showing how people are ripping people off with breaks, taking the cards off the screen, putting what they want in it to make it look like a good deal, but they're getting the best card. Like, it's so touch and go, man. So touch and go. Like collectors, and I'm going to generalize it. They're out to get their money's worth. They're out to get a deal over on somebody. So I wouldn't put it past a lot of big time collectors to rip people off. And it's a shame. It's going to happen. There's no way around it, right?
I mean, the tough part is right now, like there's a lot of people that if you go to a card show, like a lot of cases are basically going to be like, the asking prices are going to be like double or triple what the comp is, because that's what the person's into it at, you know what I mean? And just with the, market taking such a big turn over the last couple of years, so many people bought in at such a high price, so many people are now trying to recoup whatever they can.
I don't mind paying a little extra for a card I really want. That's always been my game to play. Like I told you, I want to collect Lukas and Jaws and Giannis's right now. And if I see him, and Steph's, if I see him, and those are the 4 of the top 10, no matter what, that people are collecting. And right now, basketball season's in full gear. The way we used to do it, and I think it's kind of the same. You can agree or disagree and let me know. In the off season is probably the best time to go for what you want, because they're not going to, like right now, football's over. So I would dig deeper into football now, because most people are watching basketball. They're getting ready for March Madness. They're going to dive a little bit more into that. But now it's like the way cards come out, like aren't baseball coming out already for this year?
Yep.
I mean, that's insane. It used to be a real rhythm to it every year. You knew when the cards are coming out for that sport, but now it's pretty sporadic.
I mean, basketball is basically like a year behind at this point almost.
Yeah, it's weird.
It's wild. What's up, Jamar? Good to see you, man. Appreciate you being here. So yeah, man, one other thing I really wanted to kind of pick your brain about was a little bit of wrestling too. A lot of people know that here on the channel, I am a former professional wrestler, a little wrestling with the NWA. But what a lot of people don't know is that my friend Blaze here is a brand new ring announcer. Doing his thing. Super proud of my guy. I went to see his debut. Just in December. How's that going, man? Like, what's it like for you kind of actually stepping into the world of professional wrestling officially?
It's one thing I never thought I would be able to do. I mean, when I was a little kid, my dad would take me to junior high schools and watch WWF wrestling and studio wrestling, they called it back then. And it was always entertainment for me. It was fun to watch. And you never know. See, I've been waiting for a copy of the Tony Hansen card too. It's very rare, very hard to find.
I actually don't have any more, but luckily my buddy OJ came up with I guess a variation of it. So maybe I'll get these ones printed up and get them as like giveaways.
So when I went I loved wrestling from the get-go. And when I grew up, I was a WCW guy when everybody else was WWF. And when I joined YouTube, I never thought of it this way, but I named it Blaised Radio for a reason. It was a radio. It wasn't about me. I never wanted to show my face, never wanted to do interviews or podcasts. It was about the voice, because people started saying, wow, you have a radio voice. You're like a commentator. It's like really watching a wrestling show when you do your video game. And I'm like, cool, because, I was backup singer in a band and I played drums. The guy who was the singer and played guitar, my friend Ray, used to wrestle in the same company that you did as DH Bruiser. So one week while we were practicing, he goes, hey, RWA needs a ring announcer this weekend. Do you want to try it? I was like, this weekend? So literally on the way down, he's showing me the shot sheet of the names of the wrestlers and where they're from and stuff. And I got a chance to stand in the ring and introduce everybody to that show. The guy who runs that company would get a hold of me every year and see if I want to come back.
That's awesome.
Unfortunately, with some of my health issues, it held me back from traveling a lot and stuff like that. But when this opportunity came up, a lot of my friends that are in my podcast right now, I do a wrestling podcast every week called Wrestle Sense, basically where it's just like four buddies talking wrestling. But Ray, DH Bruiser, he was a promoter. He ran a company for a while. He was a wrestler. He was a commentator. Doc, right now, Mike Doherty is a commentator in 4 different indie feds in southwestern Pennsylvania. CJ Sensation has been wrestling for 25 years. He has beaten CM Punk, Dolph Ziggler, a lot of different people that have fought out there. And when they come together and want to do a podcast, I said, sure. So
Rumor
then
has it he's even beaten the great Tony Hansen.
So they asked me to do ring announcing again. Unfortunately, I don't have a happy ending to the story. I'm not going to go back and do it again unless they ask me, unless I'm there. It's an 1.5-hour drive. It's something that I like doing. I'm blessed to have been able to do, but I don't think I'll be doing it much anymore.
Gotcha. Dude, you're such a natural at it though, man. Like just going and seeing you do your thing was pretty awesome.
It was fun. You surprised the hell out of me too, showing up too. You said I might show up and I was like, if you do, that's amazing. But I wasn't expecting it. So it really threw me off. And well, when I was a manager, I did a lot of public speaking. I ran meetings. I'm not afraid to be in the front of a bunch of people and talk. And it's a lot easier here on YouTube. You don't have, you have a big audience if you have following, but so it's come naturally to me. But what I really want to do is share the love and have other people involved. Like to see other people do what I do with the wrestling video game. And without getting into too much detail, I'd say over half of my community that I've built there in 5 years, physical, mental disabilities. There's a guy who does it who can barely see and eats through a tube, and he's in a wheelchair, but he's broadcasting. I mean, that is awesome. Brilliant. So many people with autism that are out there, and I think that's a superpower. I've always looked at it as a superpower. There are guys that are within the spectrum that are in my live chat, and they will point out a mistake I've made, or they'll tell me about a wrestler in 1972 or 1995 that beat this person in that show. That's brilliancy, man. That's just, and I think everyone has their own superhero power. You just have to find out what it is. And that goes back to me welcoming everybody into the community. It doesn't matter who you are, color, religion, political view, all that stuff. It doesn't matter. It goes out the window. Yeah. It's just here to have fun. And it's weird that the wrestling aspect, the sports collectible aspect, that I'm doing it here on YouTube and bringing people together. And that's the number one thing.
And that's what's cool is you're actually taking something that you really enjoy, wrestling, something else you really enjoy, sports and collecting and all these things. And you're basically just building a safe space for other people that, might not have that safe space to come and like experience like friendship and fellowship and, the things that you enjoy.
Well, I love interview. I found out that I really love interviewing people. And that's why, and I'm going to have Tony on here a couple weeks. We're going to be talking about, just YouTube and eBay and all kinds of stuff. So make sure he put up my link, jump over there, subscribe and check it out, because I don't want to do a regular interview. I take a lot of the stuff that I did as a retail manager interview wise, but I like to make it fun. I like to put a little spin on it. Everyone has a podcast nowadays. Everyone has, you can do interviews and gamers all over the internet. I want to try to bring something a little bit different. And I've done that by reaching out to a lot of people, which is totally out of my wheelhouse to ask people if I can interview them. It was very tough at first. But then when I got a couple people who, this one gamer, Jackknife Finnegan, he was at like 60,000, 70,000 subscribers. And now he's over 100,000, like just plugging away and doing your thing. And to see people succeed, that I know, to have people from New Zealand and the UK come on my streams, that still blows my mind 5 years later, and just blessed to be able to do what I can do. And if I can bring knowledge to some people out there and learn from them, that's why I'm here. And I'm going to sell a bunch of my stuff too sooner than later. The jerseys are tough because I got hooked on it. And like I said, one from every NBA team here. And I said that on one of my early streams and they were like, no, I was like, name a team. I'll go grab the jersey. So we played that game for a while. And I just love collecting. It does pain me a little bit to see how the card collecting world has changed. I mean, I hate to be that guy, but I'm not happy with the fact that it's too expensive. It is, like we're talking about, more gambling than it is just collecting. And I kind of saw, like I said, I saw that coming when the values really started to blow up. There was a point in time where I sold a drawer full of football cards because football wasn't worth anything. Basketball wasn't worth anything. It was only baseball. So I sold a drawer, Jerry Rice rookie, Montana, second and third year. I could rattle them off. Pains me that I sold this drawer of football cards for $50.
I can imagine.
But I always look at it as, if you're selling it for more than you bought it for, you made a profit. And that's what this show is called, Collecting Profit. I tell this story all the time with a very heavy heart. I specifically remember me and my friend buying the red box of 1986 Fleer basketball unopened. If I could just have that one box back right now, unopened, I'm set for life.
Oh yeah.
And we literally would buy those because no one bought basketball. So me and my one buddy bought basketball. I had 3 Jordan rookies. Granted, I know that neither of them were a 9 or a 10 or even an 8.
Yeah.
They're very off-centered. If you guys know what year I'm talking about, the red border, so borders were bad, corners were bad. My buddy had a whole bunch of these Jordan rookies. I hope he still has them. He has kids and stuff to support. But I bought the box of cards for what's that?
Is he Heath Slater?
No.
Okay, I was just checking.
So, I mean, here's the way I looked at it. And I could look at it really bad and say I lost thousands, tens of thousands of dollars by selling those cards early. I bought the box of cards for $9.99. I got, like you said, almost the whole set out of one box.
Yeah.
One Jordan out of that box I sold for $100 cash at a flea market. So I turned $10 into $100. That's the way I got to look at it. Like I said, I knew none of those cards were perfect condition, so I wasn't getting it graded, getting a 10 or a 9 or an 8 or anything close to that. But still, how much is a Jordan rookie at a 5 worth?
Yeah.
Probably a lot.
Yeah.
So
I mean, who would have known though, like that card would have gone to be like the staple of like our lifetime of like the player that you want to collect, I
saw when I was peeking through your channel here on YouTube because I like to do a little research for when our comes out, and I saw you did a stream on fake Jordan rookies. Yeah. So I was working for a guy managing at a cleaning company, and he was a big collector too. He had a whole room in his office that was all cards, and he wanted me to organize it for stuff. And I would open the packs he got each week and put them in that room. I opened one that, no crap, had about 100 Jordan rookies in it. And I'm thinking, hold on. So the first thing I did was pulled one out and analyzed the heck out of it. I could not find anything different. I didn't have another real one next to it to tell that the color variant is a little bit different in the back. I was like, dude, these are not real Jordan rookies. He's like, no, they're reprints. I was like, back in my day, reprints would say reprint somewhere real little. These legit could fool anyone, and that scares me. Yeah. I would never be able to do that. My conscience would crush me to sell. Like, I'd be like, hey, I'll sell you this Jordan rookie for $200.
Yep. Picked it up at Staples just a little bit ago.
Put it in a hard case, put it in a screw down like we used to have or whatever, just to make it look like it's even better, and sell a fake one for $200. It would have been that easy. And I could probably have tons of people jump on it and not know it's fake. Yeah. But without watching that video, what were the other things that you found out that were able to find the difference in that card?
Truth be told, like most of the things I found were from a book called Spotting Fakes by Ryan Nolan. He has a YouTube channel called Breakout Cards. So like a lot of like the stuff that I found on that specific card and a couple other cards that I've done videos on and stuff, I've mined from like his book. So that's a great resource for anybody that has like an interest in some of these older cards, or in making sure you're not buying fake cards, because he has like a list of like the top however many faked cards that are sent to like PSA, BGS, like all of the major graders, and he basically tells you like the difference between real ones and fake ones. He'll show you side by side pictures of each. So most of my research was just like reading his book.
So I do have another question I wanted to ask you now that I saw it here.
Yeah.
I see, and I'm an artist at heart. I took a bunch of Sports Illustrated magazines that I had, tons of them. I was never going to do anything with them. Cut them all up, made collages out of them.
Mm-hmm.
And I made a USA team one, put USA, from the Dream Team, put all the Dream Team cards with it. Bunch of different collages. And what I see people doing now, it's artwork. They're taking a card with an X-Acto knife, cutting it out, putting their own background on it. It's a one of one. Now, it's just a unique card that someone made, right?
Yeah.
What's the deal
behind
behind
that?
that?
My knowledge, I don't think most of those gain value over time outside of the fact that it's like unique.
Yeah.
So like outside of being able to sell it for like novelty, I don't think it has like true collectible value, if that makes sense. But they're definitely super cool. Like I've seen a ton of them at local shows that like, some of the stuff these people are doing, like they should theoretically be working for like Panini or like a Leaf or someone like that.
But that's something that like I tried to do to look outside the box, and I was taking I realized that a page of cards was almost the size of an 8x10 frame. So I was making these things, color in the frames, the color of the card, the team, and putting 9 cards in that page in a 8x10 frame and making it like a collectible thing, because you got to think outside the box. So I would have by team. Obviously, it worked good for baseball because there's 9 people that start. So I did a lot of weird stuff like that. I used to have this really cool stand that would hang, and you could just put cards in it to display cards. I would have it behind me at the card shows, and people would buy, right off of that. But we didn't protect them as good as they do nowadays. And we didn't have slabs, number one.
For sure. I mean, and who would have even known back then? Like back then, I don't remember ever using, like, if I'm using a penny sleeve or a top loader, like sometimes it was just stuffing it straight into a top loader, like no penny sleeve or anything. Like, I don't even remember when I first started collecting if top loaders were a thing. Like I know we looked a few weeks ago, and like I think the late 80s or early 90s are when top loaders really started being used. So for most of us that like started, in the mid to late 80s or even, beforehand, it's like top loaders. What are those things? You know what I mean? Like if you have a screw down, like maybe that's the case you're using.
But I mean, there's a shelf back here that has nothing but sets and binders, which now I've gone through and taken out the valuable cards, because what good is a whole set anymore besides the fact that I've collected them?
Yes, OJ, I did see that and I cried. Part of me died inside a little bit. I mean, it's cool. Like, it's your card. You can do whatever the heck you want with it. And I am like pro like art. Like my degree is from an art school. So like I like art, but man, a Topps Chrome LeBron PSA 10, like now if it was like a PSA like 3 with like a big scratch on the surface, that's the candidate that you want to crack open and paint on, not like a 10. Like why would you get like the most perfect one you can and then just like paint over it? But I mean, to each their own. Okay, cool. Here's the Facebook post of it. Let me see if I can click on it and show a picture of it. Thanks for sharing that.
I'm also going to share the link for our interview. So if anyone wants to click on that, because I forgot I have that up here. This link that I'm putting in the chat now is for the actual interview of me and Picksburgh coming up next month. Definitely check it out.
I will put a pin on it, so you guys can go and check that out. All right, so here's the and it was awesome artwork. Like he put like a Cavs logo and everything behind him. Like it was really, really cool. It's
you got to be a pretty good artist to pull that off too.
Yeah, but I mean, there is no way, regardless of how good it turns out,
that's not the card to do it to.
Yeah, that's definitely not the card to do it to. Especially because it was a 10. Like I said, I could see if it was in bad shape, then do what you got to do. But man, like, or even if you're going to do that, like print out like a proxy of that card, you know, and like the TCG world, like a lot of times, like if you're going to like a Pokemon league or, you know, some kind of like, you know, card gaming store, you'll print out what's known as like a proxy, which is basically like a photocopied version of that card, so you can test it out in a deck before you actually go and spend the money on the card. So like I could see doing something like that, like I said, a poorly gradable one.
I gotta take this off. I found one of the examples I was talking about. I don't have my green screen up, so that's not going to work. But this is one of the things that I did. 8x10.
Oh, cool. Let me make you large.
Paint the Steeler logo on it. Put some old cards in it. And I had about 30 of these. Different sports, different teams, different players. And, you know, it may be a way to sell some of the stuff that you couldn't sell individually or sell it together. But that was something really cool. And, like, this was some old Steeler stuff, too. And throw cards on there.
Yeah,
some information. Cool. So, I mean, I had all these magazines and I figured I could use them to kind of create something different. So when I started seeing those one-of-ones and people creating their own cards and cutting them, first I'm thinking, don't cut a valuable card, but you can take a basic card and make it look more valuable, especially if you're really good at it.
Yeah.
Yeah. I still have all my slabs pretty much in the team bags. I don't really take them out of there because I'm afraid to scratch them up.
I do that too, man. I'm so anal, especially with my LeBrons. They have to be team bagged because, like, one day, like, I plan on LeBron being like the closest thing to a retirement plan I have.
Did you ever get these? Do you have these?
Let me make you large. Which ones are those? You know what? I don't think I do have those ones. No, those are the larger ones, right?
Yep.
No, I don't have those ones yet.
There was one night up really late. And I've never bought anything off of QVC.
Yeah.
This is LeBron's rookie year, and they're selling this LeBron pack for $99.99. You got this. You got this. You got this Sports Illustrated Kids rookie card.
Nice.
Graded 10. I think it's like the first graded card I ever got. And then little boxes of cards, specific cards for LeBron. These ones. The upper deck. LeBron's diary and stuff. So unopened boxes. And I dropped $100. And sure enough, like each one of those items are worth $100 now for each of those. And like LeBron's one that's not going to fall off. I mean, just becoming the all-time scoring leader. And when he goes into the Hall of Fame, that'll be another time. His cards will probably jump again. And still waiting for the card with him and Bronny on it together, which will happen.
OJ, I will say this. I noticed, like, I don't have a whole lot of Sami Zayn stuff, but I noticed in the ramp up to like WrestleMania and stuff, like the stuff I had of Sami Zayn sold. I don't think I have any Sami Zayn left in the store currently. I'll have to double check, but Roman Reigns stuff is pretty steady. For the most part, when it comes to wrestling of the modern guys, Roman Reigns is basically like your LeBron. When it comes to like who you're going to collect and why you're going to collect them. He's like your modern day, like he kind of took over that era of like the John Cenas and, you know, the Rocks, the Austins, like the guy who kind of like carries the torch. So I definitely, I like the prospect of Roman stuff, especially if you can get any of it like reasonably cheap. But one thing I found is, like, if I'm looking for specific wrestlers to list, Roman's always one of those wrestlers. And then the guys that are like popping, like Sami Zayn or like Cody Rhodes, he's going to be main eventing WrestleMania. You know what I mean? So like I'll try to get some of their stuff listed as well. But for like the long-term collectability, I can't really say Sami Zayn's going to be any hotter than like what Daniel Bryan was at his hype. So I don't see him being like all that like significant price-wise long-term. He'll probably fall more in that Gary Payton. Like he was really good, but he's going to be like
Gary Payton rookie cards, and I have so many of those hoops 1990s.
That's what I still have a ton of those. Like it's insane, man. They're like worth $1.
It's just like the correlation isn't the same anymore. Back then, your top 5 guys in stats and championships were the top 5 cards to have.
Yeah.
And it kind of stays true to that now, but then you have this autograph of Schmo rookie that just came out. People were selling for $1,000 and stuff like that. But you mentioned the wrestling stuff, and I wanted to have some of this stuff handy, but these were the cards that were in Wrestling All-Stars magazine.
Oh, I remember those. Those are cool.
And I actually cut them right out of there because of that. Tough to see but these cards were in a magazine, and I cut them all out, and this is 83, 84. And then, of course, into these ones, which I still have a couple of I have one that's graded.
Love those.
But these cards from and these were like I think the first wrestling cards that were out there. But a lot of them are like these in-action stuff that they used to do back then, which really aren't going to catch on. And I tried to get more obscure things as I started collecting. So even, well, I don't know if you remember these things or not. Yo MTV Raps cards.
Oh yeah, those are awesome. I have an MC Hammer like that.
I think I have the whole set, and just here's NWO Sting and some old ones like that too.
That is awesome.
But these, I mean, these are PC. These are just cards that I like, and I never bought a lot of them. But you can still find things like these for pretty cheap online. And I opened a couple boxes of these online where you're going to get a bunch of flares and stings that are not really worth a lot. But if you want to rip some old wrestling packs, I think I found a couple boxes of these for not that much money. But it's good to see, because wrestling is a very collectible, I don't want to say sport, entertainment. And to see it come around too. And we didn't talk a lot about the other types of collectibles, but the Pokemon cards, the Magic the Gathering cards, the cards that are like that, some of them that they're game related, that they, I went to a card shop that's here because we only have one now. And he says most of his money he's making when he has like nights where the game night where the kids come in and play Magic, or they play all these different games and stuff.
Is it mainly like a TCG shop, or is it sports oriented?
It's sports.
Okay.
But I asked him, I'm junk wax guy. I collected most in the junk wax era. And he's like, well, you can find that stuff everywhere. And I literally looked in his box, and, the packs that were at Target for $29 for the boxes, he's selling for $50 or $60 or $70, and it made sense. I mean, you got to make money on it, but that was a year and a half ago, where if you're not waiting in line at Target or Walmart or know someone who works there, you weren't getting cards. Now, like someone in the chat said, they have more. They are there. And our one Walmart just got robbed all the time. You could tell, because I would go online and see these cards are available, but they're never there. Like, there's still a couple boxes of these left. No, they're never there.
We had the same issue at the Walmart near me, and they just closed it, unfortunately, which sucks.
Our target is one item per person now for sports cards, Pokemon and sports cards. One item. Now, I got 3 items the other day, but they were different. So I'm guessing, no one stopped me. You just can't buy multiples of the same item. I bought 1 box and two fat packs, and I spent $60 and I got nothing. That
sucks.
I got a Kenny Pickett base. That's it. And I bought I bought Prism basketball. I bought Select basketball and Select football. I bought the stuff that's a little, I bought I'm not buying Sage anymore. I bought 1 box of those and they were trash. I hate to trash anything, but quality just wasn't there as far as a card.
Absolutely.
But if you have the means to come out with cards when the business is booming, go for it, man. The last couple of years has been the time. So to see the industry, the hobby flourish was a great thing. but I have a lot of complaints about how it is now. I mean, I'm not a complainer. I'm the guy that likes to point out the positive things, but it's very frustrating as a collector to not, number one, have the availability. And number two, if you're not buying like the hobby boxes and the big market items, you're not going to get the big market cards.
Yeah, absolutely. It's just not there in retail, especially like a lot of these products like now, like I'm pretty sure, well, I don't know if it was Prism or what said it was recently, where like blaster boxes or whatever products couldn't even get autographs out of them. Like there was like no chance of pulling them anymore.
So correct me if I'm wrong, and this is just by watching because I'm not into it as much. As you have your retail stuff, you have your hobby stuff. Then there's elite type boxes like Immaculate and these weird things where you're getting 1 or 2 cards.
Yeah.
Like that's crazy. I mean, if people have
that's a gamble right there.
Yeah,
because unless you hit something big, like I bought into a was it National Treasures? Whatever it was. It was either National Treasures or Flawless. And it was one of these like random team breaks, and then like they roll a dice to like figure out who gets where. And I was just feeling super lucky. And I just one day I bought in. I was like, it was on, I can't believe it, maybe Whatnot or something like that. And I don't know what made me do it, but I'm like, you know what? I'm going to buy into this break, and I'm going to hopefully get a Kenny Pickett, like National Treasures or Flawless, whatever one of those sets it was. It was the collegiate version. It wasn't like the pro uniform or anything like that. So like, here I am, lucky enough to actually pull the freaking Steelers. And wouldn't you know, not one damn Kenny Pickett came out of that box. Like I got a couple like Pat Freiermuth and like Najee Harris select cards and like Prism draft pick cards, but it's like I already have those cards. I wanted a dang Pickett, you know. So like, even though I hit like the best team you could possibly have, it's like there's still a chance that, you know.
No, but I've had that luck for a long time, and sure enough, when I was at Target the other day, I couldn't help but buy it because they're there now. I went through 2 or 3 years where I would go to Target and it was empty every time, empty. So now it's there. And it's like so hard for me not to buy some and hope. I mean, I remember getting cards. I guess we're talking 93, early 90s. I couldn't really tell if they were refractor or not. It didn't like say refractor. You had to be able to tell it was a refractor. Or numbered cards. How easily you could scan through a pack and miss a numbered card because on the back it would say 12 of 50 or whatever. And I understand the philosophy behind that. I just miss, you know, buying a retail box and you have the opportunity to get the best card in the set. You don't have that. It's not there anymore. You're not getting the best card in the set if you buy retail ever.
Yeah.
And that's frustrating as a collector.
It's
not fair to kids is what I look at it too. Like I look at it as a kid thing, and this isn't just a kid
what
thing.
Kids buying a hobby box? Like,
what parent is buying a kid a $200 hobby box?
I mean, my mom bought me cards when I was a kid, but I don't think that she'd be buying me hobby boxes. And if she was, it'd be like that'd be my one Christmas gift because of how expensive they are.
Yeah, my mom would find a Fleer rack pack at Rite Aid or something, you know, and I'm like, cool. But I was one, like I said, I love the design. I love the idea behind the cards. I love the chase of trying to get all the cards.
Yeah.
And then when all these subsets started to come out, you could kind of see the future back in the early 90s, and when they started having so many subsets on top of the regular set.
Yeah.
Number one, you do the math. They're not going to make as much as the subset as they do the regular cards. So those are going to be rare. And it's turned into such like it's gambling. But if you love sports, like I said earlier, pick a team, pick a sport, pick a player, and concentrate on that. I mean, you find a little more joy, I think, that way, because otherwise you're just getting knocked down so much by not getting those big time cards unless you spend big time money.
True. Yeah. I mean, there's really no consistent way to pull big cards unless you're spending big money.
Now, you mentioned Whatnot. I've never really dug into that. Like, is that a valuable type of resource to try? I mean, you see all these ads on Facebook and stuff for cards and buy here, and I'm leery. I'm very leery. eBay, I know,
the bigger following you have, the better Whatnot is. Like, if you're just like I have like 3,000 some subscribers, and even I didn't gain a super bunch of traction on whatnot. Like,
Mm-hmm.
so like basically in the beginning, like you have to like give stuff away to get people to like follow you. So that way, when you go live, they'll like come watch you as opposed to like the 80 other people that are live selling at the same time.
Gotcha.
So that's really the big thing that you have to compete with is like somebody wanting to click on you over like, I'm just going to say for purposes of like him being a big name, like Card Collector 2. You know what I mean? Like most people are going to pick Card Collector 2 because only 3,000 people have heard of Picksburgh. You know what I mean? Whereas like a lot more people have heard of who he is or whatever.
So eBay,
he's
whatnot.
more of a draw, if that makes sense.
What other places are there out there for collectors to maybe delve into that they might not know?
So I mean, there's a lot of different places now. I'm pretty sure Michael Huddle was telling me about a place called Buy Sports Cards, which is another like typical sports card buying site, but it's not. From what I understand, it's supposed to be like a lot lower on like the fee end of things. And I was at a God, what the heck was this place called? At the Atlanta show. There's I think it's called Secure Trade Club. It's a brand new trading platform that just launched. Also, like another one that's kind of underrated. I've noticed it's okay for cards just because there's not as many competition like there is on like eBay and stuff. Macari's decent when it comes to like buying and selling.
That's another one. Yeah.
But a lot of that's just because there's not as much competition. You know what I mean? Like you type in even LeBron James, who like you'll see a million listings for on eBay. There's significantly less on like a Macari or whatever. So
good stuff.
You might not always find the best deals, but the thing about Macari is if the seller of that card wants it bumped up in the listings again so that new people can see it, they have to drop the price. So every single time they get a bump, they're dropping their price. So that's one of the reasons that I'll keep an eye on Macari every once in a while, because you can find some deals there if it's a card somebody's had in their store for like any length of time, because in order for them to get it promoted again to new people, they have to drop the price by at least $1.
So from my era, without a better explanation to it to now, the biggest difference I think in card collecting is grading and breaks and things like that, and the variety of cards has changed. So it's still there. If you're still a hardcore sports fan, the joy of still opening cards and finding your favorite player and stuff is still there, but it's changed a lot. That as a collector, I think you kind of have to change your aspect. When I collected in 85, my big year, 85, 86, I wanted the whole set, Donruss, Fleer, Topps. I wanted every card. And it was feasible and reasonable price that you could literally collect every card from all three major sets.
Yeah.
Nowadays, you can't really think that way because you're going to be broke, number one, in debt. But to me, sometimes, like I said, I hate to label anything because there's good and bad in everything. But some like to have to spend $150 to get a card graded, that's ridiculous, dude. That's ridiculous. Now, I understand some of it with PSA was because they were backed up so much. If you really want your card graded, you will pay that much. So I kind of understood it, but that sucks for a collector, especially if you got cards that are maybe worth 100, 200, 300, 400. You're going to risk $150 to grade one card? Wait a year and a half? Like, what's the longest you've waited for a card? I saw you had a video the other day where it was like a year and a half or 2 years.
Yeah, it was just a little over 2 years.
I mean, that's insane to take someone's collection that long.
Yeah.
I mean, they have so much power right now, I think, the grading companies, because they dictate how much your card's going to be worth.
Yep.
I get it, but like we've talked about, if you have all the things in place to prove why it's that, it justifies it to me a little more. If I can look at a scan and see, oh, that's the corner, or there's the whiteness down the right side of the card, so you can justify it. There's the misprint, in the back, you can see the line or something. But without that, that's why I didn't send cards to get graded even before the boom.
Yeah.
Now, granted, now you have umpteen places to send them. You have umpteen ways to get it done. they're going to charge you this much to get it in a couple of weeks as opposed to this much to get it. And, it's a business. So I understand it. But I just don't think it's fair to the casual collector anymore.
It does suck, especially if you're looking to get the cards graded for PC. Like you're mainly a PC collector. You know what I mean? Like and most of the stuff I send anymore is like a lot of it PC related because most of it's like my LeBrons and stuff I'm sending in every month. But yeah, I mean, it definitely does suck, man. Like to have to pay a exorbitant amount of money just to like get something that you're just going to keep in plastic.
Well, you're paying more for the cards, more to get them graded, shipping, there's all kinds of shipping fees involved in that. And then you're still trying to find someone to buy these cards. And the way it used to be, at least around here, I can speak for being able to go to a Rite Aid and all these places and get cards, being able to go to a flea market or a card show every month and sell them. Like, I don't know if you remember, Green Tree Marriott in Pittsburgh would have one almost every month. Places in Monroeville would have one almost every month. You could sell cards and buy them. They had them in my hometown here. Holiday Inns would have, all kinds of card shows everywhere.
Yeah.
I think they're still out there. And obviously with the pandemic and everything, people were more leery about going out and doing that. I was scheduled to go to the National in Chicago when that went down and never did. I was going to go last year and didn't. Eventually I will, but go to one. But just for the spectacle is why I would go. I want to see it. I want to experience it. I want to go around and see all these obscure cards these people have, some of the displays they have set up. So just to, I mean, from your videos that you've done and other people that have gone to nationals and done little vlogs, I've kind of seen what's there and I'd love to see it.
It's awesome. The best part is it's like going to a card museum, like, cause you're going to see stuff that like literally has like, never seen the light of day before. It's like there was like I want to say a $3.4 million like Patrick Mahomes card there last time I was there. It's like insane.
That's ridiculous. See, no card should be worth that much if it's only a couple years old.
They had the 9.5 Honus Wagner at the last national, which was kind of cool.
That would be cool
actually
to
be able to see that card that like everybody and their mom was like making videos about.
The 52 Mickey Mantle is big for me too. I'd love to have one of those in my hand at some point in time. So I could tell my green tree story since Mark's familiar and I know you are and stuff.
Yeah.
One of my prized possessions was 1980 Topps baseball. I collected the whole entire set from PAX. And I finally got that set completed and had almost a second set, minus I think the Ricky Henderson and maybe another big one. And I was the only one at my booth. And I literally went to the other side to see something, and someone took my entire 1980s baseball set right off of my table, and it's gone. I could never see it again. I couldn't tell who. I had an idea who the guy was, but I couldn't find him. And I mean, I'm sure that's probably more common than it should be at card shows, the people lifting stuff, taking stuff, because it's crowded. If you go to a real crowded show, man, you're elbow to elbow, you're looking at cards. And if you're a dealer, I mean, have you ever been to a table where you found yourself a little bit overwhelmed by the amount of people there and afraid people are going to take stuff?
Oh yeah, absolutely. That's probably why they started using them glass cases, just for that very reason, to make sure the high dollar stuff wasn't going to get snatched.
I'm a believer that people that steal, they end up getting karma to get them back, but it's so readily available at those shows where I'm thinking, look at this guy's table. He's over there talking to the other guy, and there's 4 kids here fumbling through these cards. He'll never know if they take a stack of cards.
Yeah, I've seen some guys at like the National that do just like the dollar boxes or whatever. Some of them will just walk away and not even like man their like stuff. Like there was one day like I was in a rush to get somewhere and like I didn't even know where the guy was to pay, and I'm like walking around like, who do I give this money to? Like I have like, several horrible Cavaliers I'd like to purchase. And the funny part is like I'm pretty sure I did pick up like an Anthony Bennett or two that day because of course horrible Cavaliers are my ish.
Now that I think about it, another obscure thing, because when it was back in the late 80s, early 90s, and it was legit the same sets every year, I remember when the USFL came around. I legit had both of those sets, all of them, perfect condition. Sold most of them. I started to try to recollect some now that I found, but it was something out of the box. You know, you had a different football league. Football had just started to pick up again after it wasn't anything. And same thing with basketball. Basketball, once 86, that flip, they weren't worth anything those first few years. It took a long time before finally something just snapped, and all of a sudden basketball and football were big. And then obviously hockey got big around here when the Penguins started winning Stanley Cups.
No, I'm sure it happened. I'm sure it happened before this standpoint as far as like the basketball hype. But I remember as a kid, like that 96-97 class with Kobe, Iverson, Starberry, Ray Allen, like Antoine Walker, Sharif Abdur-Rahim, like you name it. Like that was such a baller. Steve Nash, like I really remember like people in like my age group really collecting heavy around that draft class personally.
What about hockey? Like I collected in those years for a couple years when the Penguins got big and won a couple cups. Like I remember the Yager rookies and Eric Lindros rookie that was big. And this is before Ovechkin and anybody nowadays. But if you look, I don't think any of those cards really held very good value either, did they?
No, I don't know a whole lot about the market. I could speak to Yager just because I just graded one of his tops rookies and basically came back in 8. I sold it for like $8, $8 or $10 just to like turn it over and get some of my grading feedback. But yeah, I mean, it's not super valuable. I mean, if you have the OPG, it could be,
true,
somewhat a little more valuable.
Those were harder to find. Yeah.
Like Lemieux's rookie held some value.
Yeah,
but
Gretzky and Lemieux, that's probably exceptions to the rule. Those are going to be plus at that those years.
Crosby is still reasonably up there.
To find 10
Lemieux, I have like a McDonald's
tough.
Crosby rookie. It's not like desirable to like say the least, and it's graded by like the Canadian grading company, which like I don't know a whole lot about them, but I'm one of those weird people who like to have like one slab of like every different company. So like my Sid Crosby, being that he's from Canada, I got the Canadian slab company, being that it's like my one not my one hockey piece, but like one of my like hockey pieces that I wanted to have for PC. That'd be cool to have in a Canadian slab.
I never really got into the soccer stuff, but I see that a little bit around more now than before.
Yeah, soccer went pretty wild there for a while. I don't know the players well enough.
I don't know any.
A
couple of big names, and that's it.
If they don't play for Liverpool and I haven't used them on FIFA in the past couple of years, I don't really know who they are.
I'm not seriously. I'm really bad. I'm not a soccer fan at all. And my friends that are soccer fans hate it because I make dumb jokes and call it kickball and they get real mad.
Yeah. Yeah. I mean,
tell a soccer fan it's called kickball. They get mad.
Soccer fans are very passionate, man. They really are.
Well, we did take the name football from them.
And they outnumber us too, unfortunately.
Very much so. It's the biggest sport in the world. I mean, there's no question about it.
Yep.
But the way we Americanize things and everything, the football and the basketball are my two cups of tea. There's so much of it anymore that, as far as collectibles go, and I'm not just talking cards, like any types of collectibles, from the helmets to jerseys to anything collectible, the figurines. Just pick what you love. I guess it's tough. Yeah. I remember posters were big back in the day. I mean, my walls were covered in sports posters, Barkley and Jordan and all these guys, and posters were big back in the day. And that's another thing. How many of those posters from the 80s would be if they graded like a 10? Posters are rolled up all the time, folded, crinkled, creased. So I try to think of, rarity and stuff like that. As far as collectibles, and once again, that's why I tried to go out the box and mix a poster with a bunch of cards. I have all these things to be able to sell here, but they're just sitting in my house, just like all my tapes and CDs and DVDs. Media has changed completely as far as music and movies as well. So it's evolution. I expect it as far as collectibles and things like that, but it's a little disheartening in my opinion. I know a lot of people still love the hobby of collecting. But to me, it is more gambling, and it takes a lot of the fun out of it for me. It was very frustrating, and I dumped my frustration to you whenever we first met. Yeah, I said, I can't find cards anywhere. I want to open packs. I want to rip packs.
It would be kind of cool, just going back to what you're talking about with these movie posters and some of these nostalgic things. How awesome would it be if a company like Leaf actually went and started making relics out of those things? like they're actually getting like the same poster you had as a kid of like whatever you enjoyed, like Ghostbusters or Ninja Turtles or Power Rangers or, you know, Hulk Hogan or whatever. And they're chopping that up and making like a relic to where, I don't know if you've ever seen those like hockey cards where it's like the entire Penguins logo is like a relic. And like, once you collect each one of them, it builds the entire chess piece. That'd be awesome if like you could like build like an entire movie poster.
Well, they used to do that. What was Donruss used to do that? Donruss Diamond Kings. They used to have all the different puzzle pieces. Yeah, I have a Clemente one. I have a Clemente one somewhere that I put together. I don't understand why. Like, why wouldn't Panini make poster versions of some of their most popular cards? I mean, I would buy one if I'm a collector. You know, I can't get a Luka rookie right now, but I can buy a Luka rookie poster.
Heck, I'm holding a magazine on my desk just because it looks like a card. Yeah. If this was like poster size, I'd have it on my wall.
I still even remember, you know, even go back to the late 80s, they tried to do things different. You remember Sport Flicks?
Uh-huh. I do remember those.
Turn the card and it was different things. So Sport Flicks were different. Topps makes posters. Is that what Mark's saying? Laser discs. There you go.
Oh, nice. Oh, Topps does do that. Nice, man.
See, that's something that's one of the first things I would think of is, like I said, folders for school, which I have 85 Topps. I have a Mattingly and a Clemens. It's legit the 85 Topps card with the stats and everything on the back, but it's a folder.
Yeah.
So, I mean, those types of things, there's so many things to collect. I mean, I could go back to things like these. I have one of these from every Super Bowl for the Steelers.
Oh, nice.
So these are, you know, 70s. I got one for every Super Bowl that they were in, except for the most recent one.
Yeah.
But there's, you know, and that's what going to flea markets and stuff can do too. You never know what you're going to find at a flea market.
Oh, absolutely. So many hidden gems out there.
So I guess if I were to convey anything to collectors out there is you're not going to collect everything. Pick something that, you know, just specific to you and go for it. I have a whole box of Steeler cards. I love this collecting just Steelers.
Me too.
That's the first thing comes out when I open packs. The Picksburgh guys come out, you know, and the stars and rookies.
Yep. I do the same thing. Any of my PC players go to one pile and doesn't even touch the sale pile.
Yeah, I'm a University of Kentucky fan too. So like you do, Cavaliers, anybody who played for Kentucky that's in the NBA, I would collect them. I have so many Antoine Walker cards that aren't worth nothing now.
I bet.
But I collected them like crazy. You know, it was easy for me with the Brent Barry thing. I got tons of Brent Barrys because and Rex Chapman, people in college called me Rex. That was my nickname because when I played basketball. And so I was like, well, he's one of my favorite players, so I'll buy into it. I was a Kentucky fan. So I got tons of Rex Chapman cards. That's awesome. Which he was a great player. He should have won a dunk competition the one year, but he's also a really good Twitter follow. If you're not following Rex Chapman on Twitter, he's a great follow.
I have to follow him.
Very entertaining. He started doing something called block or charge.
Okay.
There was a video of a guy surfing and a dolphin jumps up and hits him. So he plays off these videos as like, was it a block or was it a charge?
Oh, that's cool.
So he started doing all these videos, and he's got a huge following on Twitter now, and he's a really good follow on Twitter.
Nice. I have to give him a follow.
The Topps posters. The posters are expensive, says your buddy Dom. So they have the posters, but they are kind of expensive, which I guess it would depend on what the player is.
Yeah, that's super cool that they have that. I know that Leaf has like they'll put like concert tickets and stuff into their cards. I've seen them going like that far, but I haven't seen like anything as far as like posters and stuff yet. But that would be pretty cool to like actually be able to like assemble something. But concert tickets, man, like, or not just concert ticket, but like tickets in general. Like I've seen like specific, like in searching for LeBron a lot, like I've seen key tickets to like certain games in his career have gone up for sale. Like I would imagine like people that just went to that game, like the $75,000 Peanut Heaven record breaking game versus the Thunder. I would imagine the people that have those tickets are probably getting them graded to sell. That's what I would. Least.
It's funny you mention that. I've never thrown away a ticket. I have a poster in there of all my Steeler tickets. I have a poster in there of all my concert tickets.
That's awesome.
And nothing really major. I think the one that it's just for memory wise. If I look at the ticket, I can remember stuff from that. I mean, the Michael Vick game in Pittsburgh. where we tied. I was there. I still got that ticket. I mean, it's just like, I didn't know they graded tickets.
Yeah. Yeah, it's actually becoming pretty popular right now. Like people buying and collecting tickets like for specific games. I actually had one in my one of my 2 rows that I've been using just to like separate cards as I'm listing. And I was like, you know what? I might as well just list this ticket. And somebody made me an offer of like $3 for like a random Lakers 1991 ticket. You know what I mean? It's like,
see, now I have to get that poster.
yeah, man, let's see it. There were no tickets. It's all digital through the app now. That's crazy. Yeah.
Show and tell. Show and tell. This is all Penguins, Steelers.
That is awesome.
Way back. All kind. This is actually a Super Bowl ticket, but I didn't go to the Super Bowl.
That's really cool.
I mean, bunch of old tickets, stubs, and you could tell it's like different years from when they used to not print anything but just have the words to when they started really designing the tickets and stuff. So once again, as a graphic designer, I get into the design and stuff of everything. Like I even showed you that for my little EFET, I've created digital cards for everybody.
Yeah.
And I love going in there and creating a card for each character that's on my channel. And I think it's people have really bought into it to say, hey, if I have a character on your show, now I can go and have this digital card of them. It's pretty cool.
Yeah, that is super cool. And apparently Dom and Mark both think so as well.
Yes, I've never thrown a ticket stub away, man. That's how crazy I am. I literally have every ticket stub that I've ever gone. I also like to point out I'm very blessed to be able to have gone to all these games. I know a lot of people that have never been to a Steeler game, never been to a basketball game or something. I've been to a lot. When I lived in Indiana, I drove all the way to Lexington, Kentucky just to see a Kentucky game.
That's awesome.
Loved it. By myself, I was like, I have to go to Kentucky to see a game.
Yep. Mark saying tickets can be sneaky value now. Yeah, just like that one I sold the other day. Like it might have been listed for like a day and it sold. You know, I just threw it up for a random $5, saying what I could get for it. $5 the best offer. Within the same day, I had a $3 offer, and I was like, you know what, sold.
Yeah. See, that brings up something I've always wanted to do as far as going to arenas and stuff. When I was in Indiana running a Champ Sports, my assistant manager took 2 weeks off in the summer. And here's what him and 5 of his friends were doing. They were flying to San Diego, seeing a Padre game. Then they were driving to LA, seeing a Dodger game, seeing an A's game, seeing a Giants game, seeing they went to 5 different parks in 1 week.
Awesome.
Slept in the car in the parking lot some nights. But they got to see 5 different stadiums just traveling up. I think it's Highway 1 there in California and seeing as many as they can, starting from the bottom and going up. And I thought that was so cool. That would be such a fun thing. Because I'm one of those guys, I never leave a game early. And there's a reason. I was at a Pirate game with my friend and his dad way back in the day. 8-4 in the 9th inning. Let's beat traffic and leave.
Yeah.
Guess who scored 5 runs in the bottom of the 9th to win 9-8?
The Buccos.
And we got to hear it on the radio on the way home. And I wanted to punch my friend's dad right in the back of his head. I was so mad. But like me and my one friend, we were the type that would stick around and walk around the arena afterwards. So if they were giving away like souvenir cups or souvenir programs, we would find them all and have all these collectibles at the end of the night.
That's awesome.
Plus, you never know. Plus, I know, like I said, I'm blessed. There's a lot of people who have never been to a major sports event. So when I go, I want to absorb it as good as I can. I can't stand people leaving early for games.
Oh, absolutely.
But then you can, the other side of the coin nowadays, and I see a lot of people talking about it, how these NBA players are taking time off and stuff. You know, they're not playing all the games and they're sitting for a while. What if that's your son's only time to see LeBron? You drive to Cleveland and he's sitting that night. You know, it's like stuff like that.
That used to happen to me all the time whenever I had Cavs season tickets. Like, so I only had a quarter season, and the way I had it structured was I picked the games I wanted. So I would pick it based on like either like players I wanted to see, or like if like I had a friend I was going with, I would let them pick their favorite team to go see or whatever. So like most of the time I'd go like I'd pick the Bucks. Giannis is sitting. It's like, come on now. I want to see Giannis. That's literally the only reason
Yeah.
I've come here. Chris Middleton's a hell of a basketball player, but
Yeah.
gotta see today.
I ended up driving to Cleveland to see the Cavs and the Sixers just so I can see Iverson. And I think it might have been LeBron's rookie year. I'm not sure. But the reason I did is because they have preseason games in Pittsburgh every once in a while.
I remember that.
So there was Sixers and
I may have been at that game as well.
I think it was Sixers, Celtics, or Bulls. It was Sixers, Celtics, and I wanted to see Iverson, and he wasn't there.
I was going to say, I went to a Sixers Cavs at the Civic Arena back in the day.
See, I just said I'm going to Cleveland to see Iverson. I got to see him at least once.
That's super cool.
And I'd probably have to look at it's probably a ticket stub over there somewhere. I have literally another poster like this with all concerts.
That's awesome.
And that's a good point Mark has, that now all the tickets are digital. So these are a thing of the past for the most part.
True.
You either print them out or, I mean, some people get them mailed to them, I guess, or have actual tickets, but a lot less than back then, I'm sure.
Yeah.
So, I mean, collecting is a tricky thing.
Yep. That makes a lot of sense.
So, I mean, for me, the frustration has been the tediousness of eBay loading up to list a bunch of stuff. You know, you guys touched base on that a little bit last week when I was listening, and I'm the guy who has 3 or 4 things listed. I could literally go back and list 100 or 200 things, but I don't have the patience to do that. And I mean, granted, eBay does make it pretty easy just to pick something similar, and it's already coded pretty much the way you need it. Just change a few things, but that's one thing I need to get better at is putting things on eBay.
It's super time consuming. If I had less time, I don't know that I'd be able to do it consistently. Because really it's a volume game with most of the stuff. Like most of the stuff I deal with, I should say, like some of the stuff Marty deals with, he can get away with listing like 10 cards because
how do you find value in selling a card that's under $10 on eBay?
What's the value?
How do you find value? Because I mean, you're going to pay to ship it.
Mm-hmm. I typically charge shipping. So I typically charge around $1 shipping. I'm paying like roughly, depending on the weight of the cards I'm sending, anywhere from 60 cents to like $1.08 in shipping. If it's an under $20 card. So
you just put them in an individual bubble packs.
Most of the time, if it's a single card, I'm just using a white envelope.
I bought a ton of little bubble packs in hoping that I'd be selling raw cards.
Over $20, under 20, I just use these like standard white envelopes I got from Dollar Tree.
Now, do you put cardboard front and back and stuff like that? And
no, what I'll typically do is I'll put a card in a top loader and then I'll put like a little team bag over it just to make sure it doesn't slip out. With the standard envelope, you want to try to keep it as flat as possible because it has to still go through the machine feedable thing for them to be able to read it. So the key there is to try to keep it as flat as possible. And because if it goes over 3 ounces, you can't send it standard envelope. So it has to stay under 3 ounces total weight. But for the most part, I'm just, plain white enveloping. Like I would say 75% of the stuff I send out, maybe 60% like on the lower end. But
interesting.
I mean, stuff like Marty's putting up there is stuff like people are going to fight over, you know what I mean? Like he's pulling like Brock Purdy, like RPAs that like during the season, like everybody and their mom was like giving their left nut for, you know what I mean?
Find a Mac McClung somewhere, man. I heard there's only one rookie card of his. I read an article earlier today. There's only one rookie card of his because no one really thought he was going to make it very big. He's still not really that big, but winning a dunk competition is big to me.
Yeah, absolutely. I'm sure his cards definitely spiked after that. Oh, that's awesome, man. Saw Kobe 1-on-1 versus Iverson on a street ball court in Philly, 11 p.m. at night, and there was a 300 people watching. I can only imagine how cool that would be.
What's your take on this? So I had the idea that, if I was going to start loading up eBay, I want to try to find someone who's a Carmelo fan or this fan or a fan of this player. So is it a good idea or a bad idea to put card lots together of those players?
No, it's a good idea. Like, especially if it's a player that isn't like as desirable for like single card sales.
Yeah.
Like I have some guys like right now I have like, not that Cole Anthony's not a good player for this. I just have so many of his cards listed individually right now. I think he'd be a better person to just like start taking this and make like several little Cole Anthony lots and put those out there, because it'd be easier to sell. If you really are a Cole Anthony fan, you'd probably rather have like 5 really nice cards for $10 as opposed to paying like $2 or $2.50 per one of those cards.
Yeah, that's kind of where I was at. And I was thinking, okay, Steve Young, you're not going to sell a bunch of common Steve Youngs. But if I find someone who's a big Steve Young fan and I'm selling him 20 Steve Young or 30 Steve Young cards for $20, I would think that sounds like a better deal for that collector to get his favorite player and get it at a bulk price.
Absolutely.
Typically, when I justify shipping, there you go. That's what I'm thinking there. What Mark says.
Typically, when I list too, if I have like a card that I have duplicates of, I'll even put like a little like special on like that specific type of card. Like if there's multiples of it, if you want to buy like all 5 of my Lamellos, each time you buy it, you're going to get 5, 10, 15, 25% off. Like with each additional card you buy, you're going to get like a multiplier of a discount type thing. So I've noticed, like, especially with Jalen Hurts this past year, how he blew up. Like I would have like a million Chronicles Jalen Hurts listed. And because I had that volume pricing, the guy who's going through buying all my Jalen Hurts would like literally buy all of the ones I had listed of him, under that listing.
So would you say it's better too, for specifically single cards and stuff like that, to charge
on the
shipping?
lower guys? Yeah. Like, you know what I mean? If they're not somebody that, like, for example, like LeBron has a huge collector base, and one-offs are going to be fine of like a LeBron type player.
Yeah.
Now, lots will still work if you have a bunch of like low end that you just want to put together and kind of get out, for a value. But for the most part, if it's like players like, say, Steve Young, like, unless it's like his rookie cards aren't even that valuable.
No,
right
not at all.
Great grade. But say it's like 90s Steve Young cards, even like a refractor is not super, super valuable. So if you were to say put like 20 of those together in a lot, like that would definitely make it a whole lot more enticing for somebody who collects the Niners or like Steve Young in particular.
Well, here's an example. Let's just put it this way. I got 2 Greg Maddux rookies, not a big deal. Both graded, not great grades. Like say they're both 8s. I put it out at $30, doesn't sell. 25 doesn't sell. $15, and it sells. But then I'm paying shipping. I'm paying $8 to ship it. I lost money because I paid more to grade those cards.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying? Because like those instances can happen where you end up losing money because you paid to grade the card. It wasn't as high as you thought, and you had to lower the price to get rid of it.
Yeah.
So, I mean, that I'm sure, hopefully few and far between, but that sucked.
Yep. Absolutely.
I would have been better off putting those 2 cards raw on there for $10.
Here's one thing too, I'll tell you guys about lots on eBay too. The people who are trying to get past the authenticity program, what they're doing is they're actually selling their cards in lots. Like, so for example, if I had a fake Michael Jordan card in a slab, or just a fake Michael Jordan card in general, like 86 Flair or whatever, all you would really have to do to get it around going to PSA or CSG for authentication is to put it in a lot with other cards. And if you're doing that right now, they're not sending lots off for authenticating. So like if you're buying that lot because you're like, oh man, that's the Jordan rookie in there, and I get other Jordan cards in this lot too. You might think that's a great deal, but be very, very careful in buying those lots because they don't go through authentication. That's kind of the loophole that like scammers are using right now to be able to get fake cards to people and have eBay not catch it.
One of my followers sent me a box full of, remember like the Beanie Babies, but they're bears, but they're sports bears.
Yeah. Beanie Buddies. Is that what they were?
They're all kind of different sports bears. Yep. And, they had the number on the front, Kobe or whoever. Yep. And I thought it'd be cool to take those and sell them with a lot of the cards of that person too. So, and they're still sitting up on my eBay. I got like 20 cards and 15 different bears for like 20 or $30. No one wants them.
I'm pretty sure I still have a Clemente like that up in my store too.
Yeah. So, I mean, someone's the thing it sold, it was Lakers. It was the great Lakers. It was Kareem, Magic, Kobe, Wilt, and one other. There was 5 of them. I sold those right away.
Oh, nice.
McGuire and Sosa Bear. Yeah, those two.
So it's once you get to a certain price point, I don't know if it's $200 or let me actually Google it real quick and give you the actual eBay authenticity program.
So if anyone wants those bears, go find Blaze cards on eBay. I still have some of those bears up there. And I was buying jerseys in lots too. And I ended up finding a Carmelo jersey, Carmelo Anthony high school jersey, and a Syracuse or a pro jersey. And they were 5X jerseys. Like there was other XLs and double X's, but two of them were 5X's. I can't wear a 5X jersey. And it's probably too big to put in a frame or anything. So I put that up there with some Carmelo rookies, and it's not selling either.
You know what I'm seeing is it actually looks like they charge you more in fees on a authenticated thing too.
Oh, wow.
Which sucks. It looks like typically they're charging you like around 10% in a transaction fee. If it goes through the authenticity program, they're charging you 20%.
See, for what little I do on eBay and have up there, I don't mind paying a fee because I wouldn't have sold it if I didn't have eBay to go through. So I understand paying a fee, just like on YouTube. When we get paid for YouTube, they take 30% of everything you get from ads and super chats and everything. I don't mind that because if I didn't have YouTube, would I like it to be 15%? Sure. But I understand that the medium that's giving us the ability to broadcast deserves something. So I understand the business side of it, but it's just a little bit frustrating. A lot of it frustrating sometimes.
If anybody has the exact price that they start sending it off at, let me know. But this goes not just for cards and collectibles. It's purses, watches, a little bit, of anything that's like super high-end collectible. They send it off to get authenticated.
Mark says that 5X might fit him. All those cupcakes and hostess just to get free cards. Hold on, I need to laugh at that.
I want to say it was like $200-ish is like where it might be, but apparently it doesn't say exactly what it is. But roughly like $200 range, you should be seeing something go to authentication if it's not in a lot.
A little more show and tell. I have the Carmelo ones put away, but this is kind of how it is. This is
that's sick.
An authentic, but
cream?
it's 3X. It's pretty big. And hardwood legend, so it's all stitched. It's a really nice. My thought was, and I got like 10 jerseys for $100. Somebody's girlfriend broke up with them, and she sold all the jerseys for like cheap.
I can totally see that.
This one's I really like this one, Magic Johnson College.
That's sick.
And I have a Larry Bird.
Did you specifically target some of those in college jerseys?
No, it was just I would go search for basketball jerseys, a lot of them. So if I can find a lot of 5 or 6 or 8 jerseys, I figured that would be better than buying them individually. And sure enough, these two, and there was a couple LeBrons and the Indiana State Larry Bird one that I can't reach is up there too, baby blue. $100 for like 10 jerseys. I mean, in there was a Baltimore Ravens Ray Lewis jersey, which you know me as a Steeler fan. I would never buy that jersey, but I have one because it was in part of those lots. Yeah. That's why I would just go to eBay and do jerseys, lot of jerseys. And then I would find like 2 or 3 or 4, sometimes someone trying to dump them and get rid of them. And I'd buy them up.
I used to do that too. I used to have a big jersey collection growing up.
I mean, these ones you see right here are very old. Lakers, that's a Worthy.
Yeah.
Barkley and Chris Mullen. They're like real small. I wore those when I was a kid. So I just put them on little things to show them off.
Yeah.
I even have, I don't know if you remember the Pittsburgh ABA team.
Yeah. The Pipers. Condors. You got a jersey?
The Condors.
That is awesome, man.
I don't know who Lewis is, but The
you know what?
Condors.
Mike Lewis. I have his card.
Really?
I do. Surprisingly,
I thought that was really cool, and I was like, "Oh my goodness, it's a Condor jersey." Some you don't see everywhere.
Yeah, that's super cool.
And Harlem Globetrotter jersey up there. So I got a lot of them. But I mean, what I'm trying to do now is find better ways for my eBay store to try to sell some more stuff. Because, like I said, I just want to. It's not Ray Lewis. We talked about Ray Lewis. But it's finding that obscure stuff and then obviously finding someone who wants to buy it.
Yeah, absolutely.
And I guess nowadays with the internet and the ability to put stuff on there is to some extent easier than traveling around to try to find places to sell them.
Yeah. Yeah, it definitely can be. And it really just depends on like what level of, I guess hands-onness you want to have with it. The thing I like about eBay is I can list the card and just leave it there and not even think about it until it sells.
Here's something I thought would be worth a fortune. How is that not worth a fortune?
That is super cool.
I've never taken it out of this box. But you can buy these online for not a lot. I mean, I would think as an original starting lineup, there's your cards on the back.
Yep.
That something like this, the dream team, once in a lifetime, starting lineup would be worth a ton. But go look it on eBay. You can probably find it for not that much. And that's very disappointing.
Yeah.
I don't have kids, but I'd think stuff like that would help put them through college and stuff. So I guess I'm glad I don't have kids. Then I'd be really disappointed.
Yeah, that starting lineup fun didn't pan out, huh?
But like even things like I had a friend, his dad had one up on all of us. He had every single starting lineup figure the first year opened and unopened.
That is awesome.
So he had this glass case in the living room with everyone's. I just wanted to knock him over and be like, But this guy also went buck wild on Upper Deck. Upper Deck, the first year with the Griffey rookie, he has probably 100 sets, hundreds of Griffey rookies. But now look, you'd think that card at this point would be worth 10 grand. But it's not. It's really not. Plus, Upper Deck. Whatever happened to Upper Deck?
They're still producing cards. They mainly do hockey now. Obviously, they also have AEW.
Yeah, that's right. I just remembered the AEW set is Upper Deck.
Yep. I could see that, Mark. It's going to be interesting to see what happens with Funkos.
Honestly, unpopular opinion, those are ugly as hell. Funko Pops are ugly.
Yeah.
They look stupid to me. I'm sorry. I understand why people collect them and the uniqueness of having a superhero or a sports hero or whatever, but those are weird looking, ugly little toys, man.
Yeah.
They said that about Cabbage Patch Kids too, and those were worth a fortune.
I got one of LeBron for Christmas, and now I have 3 LeBrons because apparently there's a whole lot of different LeBron Funkos too.
Well, that LeBron pack I bought off of QVC, it came with a LeBron bobblehead. A rookie bobblehead. Too bad it broke. But I have a LeBron bobblehead somewhere with, I think, the arms broken on it.
I actually have a LeBron bobblehead, like an all-star game bobblehead that I got at a Duquesne basketball game.
That's what the Funkos remind me of. Like plushy bobbleheads or something. Yep. Toy bobbleheads. I have a friend who that's all he does on Instagram is buys and sells Funkos. He does a really good job too. I couldn't get into it. It's to a point you can't collect too much.
Yeah.
You can't go out there and collect.
Is the size of them because like even like slabs to raws, like you can only hold so many now in a box just getting it slabbed, let alone like a Funko, which is like, God, you could probably, I would say it's probably the size of one of those PSA boxes that come in like with like 20 slabs in it.
That opens a whole new can of worms. The price of supplies, boxes, and I understand for some of it, but even during the boom, to buy hard cases and monster boxes was very expensive.
Oh yeah,
because everyone knew, hey, the hobby's hot. And I
There was a
understand
lot of shops buying up
business.
collections just for the top loaders, and then they were like packaging up like packs of like used top loaders just because they were so difficult to find.
But if you don't protect those a lot, those top loaders turn yellow after so long. I have ones from the 80s that are completely yellow.
That is right, Mark. PSA's grading Funkos.
Oh, my goodness.
There's a company out in Australia grading Funkos now.
Where's PSA based out of? Do you know?
Yeah, Santa Ana, California. And they
have like a place where you can tour? I would love to be a fly on the wall.
They actually have a facility
in the PSA. See how that would be amazing to visit.
I'm sure that you could probably reach out to collectors and they'd probably be able to set something up for you if you were ever out there. But yeah, their main place is in Santa Ana, California.
I don't need to see all the secrets and all. I would just like to see the operation and see how the process of manufacturing does from receiving cards to, because I'm sure they have to be organized as hell to do that.
Oh yeah, absolutely.
For the amount, especially for PSA. Not to say all the grading companies would have to really have their stuff in order. Like, weren't you one that had the one from PSA? Was it lost? Where you didn't get it back in time? Did you have one?
I sent the PSA that took like forever and a day to come in. I sent it through a group submitter who kind of just skipped with the cards. If I'm being transparent. So it took me like 2.5 years working with PSA to like actually have the cards released and like prove like, hey, these are mine. I sent them in XYZ, that type of stuff. So that's the main reason it took so long to come back to me. I probably would have had it in like 1 year after like the crazy pandemic shutdown. It just had to go like a whole nother year basically fighting to get my cards.
Yeah, so. Dom, I can look in my monster boxes and literally I would go through last year when I bought a ton of top loaders and be like, I could tell the old cards I haven't touched because the top loaders were yellow.
Yep. I've gotten a ton of cards and top loaders that are yellow. I bought a bunch from like the Goodwills over the years that are just like all yellowed out and stuff too.
You really don't what? What were we talking about? We're talking about a bunch of things, Mark.
Touring PSA. Mark actually was one of the original graders at PSA.
Oh.
So back in the day, he actually was one of their graders. So
I would just like to find out the process, like overall. Like I don't need to get into the total details, but like you said, Funkos come in as opposed to cards, as opposed to comics, because they grade those too, right?
Yeah. Well, actually, I don't know about comics. Do they?
I know somebody grades comics because
I know that like CGC does that.
Oh, okay.
I don't know about PSA.
Beckett grade comics?
I don't think so. I think Beckett's still just doing cards.
That has to be tough because you're not dealing with one piece of cardboard. You're dealing with a book.
Yeah.
Like, they should literally have to go through every page. Because what about someone who drew a mustache on Spider-Man on page number 35?
Yeah, that's got to be tough.
That's got to be tedious as heck to grade a comic. CGS does comics.
Yeah.
That would be insane. Like, well, how do you grade the Funko would have to still be in the box, right?
Well, after talking to Dave a few weeks ago, he was talking about how he got his Funkos graded. I started looking through the rabbit hole of like Funko grading. Like, how does that even happen? I looked at PSA's website. Apparently, they judge the Funko based on the box, not the actual like toy inside. So most of what they're actually grading is the condition and like the likeness of the actual box itself.
Do they grade starting lineups? Anybody grade those?
I don't know, to be honest with you,
because that would be something that's very collectible and they all had a card with them back in the day. So I do have to show you one more thing.
I know for a fact I've seen the cards graded from starting lineups. I don't know that I've seen the actual figures. I stand corrected. I'm looking at a Joe Montana that's graded right now. Let's see if I can share my screen.
I can get carried away with this show and tell thing and literally do like a whole
check that out. That's a graded Joe Montana one.
What?
Yeah, AFA.
See, I think of the business end that they have to produce packaging. So they have to have really big slabs.
I've never heard of AFA, but that's pretty cool.
That's very cool.
That almost looks like one of those video game slabs.
They grade video games too?
Yep. PSA actually acquired a company called Wada Gaming that is like their big video game grader. Like, so you can get like, here, watch this, graded video games. What these look like. Yeah, so this is basically all it is. Like for it looks very similar to what I just showed there for the other thing. It's basically just like a case, WADA certified.
That's insane. That is insane.
Yep. And typically, I'm pretty sure they're just grading the sealed. I haven't seen any non-sealed cases graded yet.
Raw video games, just the disc.
Yeah,
I got some Atari cartridges back here.
We'll send in a scratched up like
this is what can happen to the starting lineup. See how it's falling apart? All the plastics, yellow, it's falling apart. I mean, 478 back in the day. But it's all turned yellow and nasty. This is a first year Magic Johnson, but it's also crinkled and yellow. Awesome. And I've had these in bags for a really long time, but it's so hard to keep these perfect.
Oh, I bet.
I mean, that's the first years of starting lineups. And it's just, you can understand why they would try to make just about anything to collect.
Yeah. I think it's kind of cool that they're like grading all of these different things, but it's also like super overwhelming to me because it's like, man, like, is any of my stuff going to be valuable ungraded in the future? Like, I'm thinking like video games, like, man, like most video game collectors like collect the game because they want to take it off the shelf and play it.
Well, I've seen unopened packs graded too.
Yep. Yeah, I've seen that as well.
I saw someone crack and open it in 1986.
He says the old cartridges do get graded.
Wow.
Do they have to do that as like a separate, like, you remember back in the day, if you had like a really OC card, you could still get it to like get like a 10 if you just had an OC next to it, because basically it's saying we're just discrediting the fact that it's off-centered. Do they do the same thing when it comes to like a video game if you don't have the actual box or case it came in?
That's strange. I mean, I still have a couple Atari games, but they're all written on and colored. And
that's interesting, Dom. Grading socks. I could see that. There's so many people I know that actually collect different types of socks. That'd be kind of interesting.
That's insane.
You could be the first in the sock grading game, man.
Trying to think if I have any socks worth grading.
And if you want to get really risque, you can grade the feet that wore them in.
Well, I remember I coached high school basketball about 5 years ago, and I'd always look at the kids' socks, and they would have like Golden State Warriors socks and Steph Curry socks and weird socks, and I was always joke with them and judge who had the best socks each time, and so they were in trend to wear all kinds of colored socks. Hell, I remember when the Michigan Wolverines started wearing black socks, and that was a big thing.
Yeah.
No one wore black socks until then. I think that's all I have is black socks now.
That's cool, Dom. My girlfriend collects socks as well. I got her some Grogu socks for Christmas.
Collect graded socks. That is crazy. That is insane.
Now, just because we're talking about it, I have to actually Google graded socks.
Graded socks.
That's a thing. If this is a thing, like, I'm gonna like, I don't even know what I'm gonna do.
The Fab Five, Mark. That's right.
I might have to buy a pair if it's a thing.
Hey, there's a link from Dom. Is that a sock? Is that an eBay sock link?
I don't know. Oh no, it's Simon's Quest. That is awesome, man. Here, I'll show it off. But guys, real quick in the chat, are there any last minute questions anybody has for for Blaze before we start to wrap it up. I want to be mindful of his time, and I don't want to take up too much
I'm
of it.
good. I'm a nighthawk, man. I stay up late.
I appreciate that.
I got one more show and tell. I mean, I literally should just do streams on the stuff I have here and be like, if you want anything,
dude, I guarantee you people would love to watch that, man. Like that's the type of stuff I watch. Like whenever I have
a lot of different like the collages and stuff that I made that I was talking about. But this one is
brother. Go along. It was a cartridge game that we were just taking a look at. That was the significance of that listing.
It would go along with the Dream Team thing. So I basically took a poster of the Dream Team.
That is awesome.
Combined it with some cards from everyone. The the cards that came in Hoops one year. And these are all cutouts from different Sports Illustrateds. But I didn't realize it. I made one big mistake on here. Where's he at? Dominique wasn't on the Dream Team. So I need to get a Jordan picture there, but I never realized it. But these Hoops cards, I never thought, I had 5 or 6 of all of those. And so to try to add value to cards that aren't really worth anything, make a big poster. And it kind of goes back to when we were talking about those 101s, how people were creating their own cards and designing them. I was just doing it on a bigger scale with like posters and stuff to try to have something different. To use those cards somewhere.
That's super cool, man. You should think about doing something like that with some of your junk wax for like one of these card shows.
I need to. I mean, this is how I have everything organized in my collection. So in every monster box, each player. So here's the player, Dwayne Wade. Behind him, all the Dwayne Wade. So I have them all and you can see the yellow ones in there, like we were just talking about.
Yeah.
But I literally have 5 or 6 monster boxes, and these are all probably just $1, $2, $5 cards.
Yeah.
Because I've gone through and picked out the ones that I wanted graded. But when it comes to making lots and stuff like that, that's where it can make a difference. To me. I mean, but I need to step my game up as far as my eBay. I don't have anything on there but a couple things. I see somebody was Dom was asking me to share my thing. I'll share my link here.
Yep. Thanks, Dom.
Guys,
again, his YouTube channel is linked in the pinned comment there. I will be on there for an interview on March 12th. It's a Sunday. So make sure you guys swing by. I'd appreciate the support over there. And make sure you stop in and say what's up to Blaze. Like I said, he has a very welcoming stream, very friendly people over there. Would love for you guys to go over there and support him as well.
Very blessed to have a community that I've grown with a bunch of other content creators. I'll be doing some interviews, one with Anthony, one with other content creators. I try to pick up a bunch of content creators that big time content creators too. And I hate to bring up numbers because I know some people that have under 1,000 subscribers that are much better than some of these people that have 100,000 and whatnot. So I don't really judge that, but I judge their content, how they treat the live stream, the people in the live. And the reason I want to do interviews is so we can share best practices. It's not just to brag about me. I'm not a bragger. I'm very humble. It's not just to hype up the other person, but definitely to share a community within the two. But I want to pick their brain so the people that are watching can learn from them, learn from me, and we can all get better at what we do. So right now I only have a couple things on there. I have the Bears and I have my Syracuse jerseys and some. So I need to get better at eBay. And like you said, it's just very time consuming and tedious.
Yeah, it really is
to do it. I mean, do I want to go through and put, dollar Vince Carter cards single? That's not value to me. It's gonna be so time consuming that unless I put 50 Vince Carter cards for $20, that sounds more appealing to me.
Yeah, absolutely.
Especially to someone who, hey, my son loves this guy, and I just want to buy him something for his birthday.
Yeah. So
stuff like that. My other idea was, if I ever do sell cards on whatever level, 50% of what eBay is selling at. Mm-hmm. If it's stuff I want to get rid of, why not just put everything? Like I would literally have a booth at a show that says 50% off of eBay. You show me what it's valued on eBay, you get it for half of that. And I think that's one way I can get rid of a bunch of stuff. Yeah, this is a blast, man. I love showing off all the junk I have just sitting around.
You know what? Like, we actually enjoy it too, so that's wonderful, man. Like, honestly, you should make a video on some of these things for your channel, man.
I did one video with the jerseys, and I literally went through every jersey and showed them off. But I think that was the first Blaze Cards one or something. But that's something that I'd really love to bring back, just because it's just sitting around here. I'd like to show it off to people. And who knows, when someone watching might see something they like. And I don't mind parting with most of this stuff. Like I said, I want a very small PC of cards that I like to keep, but everything else is pretty much available for sale.
Yeah, definitely.
And I will be adding to that eBay now. That's one thing I've always wanted to do is pick the brain of someone like you who has knowledge in eBay. I'm humble. I'm not braggadocious trying to do something on my own and just fail to do better. I'd rather pick the brains of people that have had some success and have tried a bunch of different things to make it easier on me as well. And I want to make it appealing to the customer. I've been a salesman my whole life, from selling cards as a kid to being a professional salesman and manager to now doing this. So I want to use those skills to still, give people what they want. And I don't want all this stuff to go at auction when I pass away. I'd rather have some people have fun with it now.
So Mark says that he's always buying basketball, especially in bulk.
I have about 10 super boxes of commons that you can have at a very low cost. It's all underneath my bed right now. But, and for what it's worth, a lot of people say, oh, you never know what you're going to find in your commons. Trust me, I've combed through those boxes many, many times and most of them are, 89, 90, 91, Fleer Tops, Donruss. But you never know. So many things. I should find this is one last thing. I can't stop.
Can't stop, won't stop.
When I thought of this, because I talked about it earlier, finding things that are a little different. So this box, I don't have too many things still in binders, but these are, you figure if the cards are going to be valuable, maybe the packages are. So these are actual,
really cool.
So 86, 82 tops, 85, 89. These are legit packages, because what gets thrown away?
Yeah.
The wrappers get thrown away. True. So I thought maybe someday I'd find someone who thought that was really cool and want to pay $1, $5, whatever for each one of these. And literally 89 baseball. And then it gets into some basketball, foil. And we started getting foil instead of wax packs.
Nice.
And then you get into, remember Action Packed?
Oh, yeah. I have a Macho Man like that.
The mini cards that they sold. There's Sport Flicks. We talked about those. Nice. So this is something you're not going to find most collectors have. Yeah. Because this is trash to most people. MTV Raps. And then these were the bottom of the boxes. That's a Dwight Gooden second year.
That's awesome.
On the bottom of a box. And it's the legit whole box. Some of these are cut out. Some of them is the whole box. So as these cards would come out and they would be on the bottom of boxes, I thought that's pretty unique. You're not going to see those everywhere. Beckett magazine would always have cards in it. Not always, but when they did, they were reprints. But I figured, why not save them? And as you can tell, I'm a little bit of a hoarder. You guys remember Baseball's Best? Fleer had these special set. It was 22 sluggers, 22 pitchers. And of course, stickers. Here's a 86 Met. I'm sure I can find an 86 Met fan out there somewhere. This is an uncut sheet. They won the World Series that year, I believe.
I'm sure Dom or Mike would definitely take that off your hands.
So these are all from Beckett magazines here, bottom of boxes. I mean, this is the type of stuff you don't see everywhere. These are legit full boxes. And I thought maybe just like I have a binder full of error cards that I thought would be. Yeah, Mark, that's what I mean. If I look at this, it's memory lane. I can smell the bubble gum.
Yep.
I can smell the wax pack that I opened from way back there. So that Mets one, I wouldn't mind getting rid of that for someone who's a Mets fan. I was a Pirate fan. We hated the Mets. So much stuff. And you give me so many ideas of things, because I'm always looking as a content creator. And this is something me and Anthony are going to talk a lot more in depth in my interview. about being a content creator, about trying to find things that are original or different. Anybody out there can press a go live button, get StreamYards for free or whatever, and broadcast. You got to differentiate yourself. You got to do something different. You got to be unique. And I like being silly and funny and stupid with my little sound effects and dumb stuff. You got to be different. Muck the Fets. Yeah, I used to have a t-shirt that said that. Those were very popular back then.
Yeah.
But this is really this is a lot more than I thought it would be, Anthony. I really thank you for having me on.
Yes, thank you, man.
The more you try to dig deep. I also do a podcast called The Legion of Dork, which my friend Super Nacho is his nickname. He's big in He-Man comic books. He can tell you every He-Man character. We have broken down Spider-Man. We've talked about old 80s commercials. It's all retro.
That's awesome.
I have a playlist on my channel too. If any of you guys check out the channel, leave me a comment. I'll check out your channels too as well. I love finding new content creators to talk to, and just try to be unique. Try to do something different that other people aren't doing. Separate yourself. If you want to be successful, that's one of the major things to do is be unique, be original, but also learn from all the other people that are doing it and doing it successfully. Like Anthony, I have a lot of great questions. I cannot wait to ask him in a couple weeks.
Always available.
Appreciate it. This has been a blast, man.
Yeah, man. Likewise. Guys, remember, if you're interested in coming to the Picksburgh Card Show that's going to be in South Point, just put a thanks mark down in the comments after we go off air, and that'll enter you for the giveaway I'll announce next week on Michael's channel. Pretty excited about next week too. We have another cool guest coming on, J Max Sports Cards, if you guys have heard of him. If not, definitely check out his channel and let him know that Picksburgh said to check him out. Would appreciate it. But we'll be back on Huddle Card Collection next week. So guys, make sure you subscribe to Michael's channel as well. I have his link down below as well next to Blaze's. So make sure you check out Blaze. Blaze, is there anything you want to tell the people before we wrap it up?
I always close out a lot of my things with you never know what someone's going through or what they've gone through before. Peace and positive vibes to each and every one of you and your families out there. This is a blessing that keeps on giving back, man. It's just meeting new people, interacting, having fun, and learning something new. That's what it's all about. So I thank you all. You guys have been a great little audience. Always a great host. And you'd think the way me and Anthony talk, like we've known each other forever, only a couple years, but so many things in common can draw you together, and you can really learn from this guy. He knows what he's talking about, this guy.
Likewise. Did the same thing.
And I always say, see you in the streams out there is what I like to say. Yep. So don't be a stranger. Pop into my show anytime. I do the digital wrestling, what I call it, which is an E-Fed, Tuesdays, Thursdays, and Saturdays. NFL football on Sundays when NFL comes around. I've thought about doing some NBA because that's my real cup of tea, just doing watch-alongs. I'll do a watch-along for some wrestling shows if you guys like wrestling as well on my podcast. On Thursday nights, I have a separate channel for that now because those guys, we really have fun with that. So if you're a wrestling fan, a collector, a fan of just retro toys and games and commercials and stuff, I try to diversify instead of just do one thing, and hopefully I can entertain someone out there. And I always say, whether you're laughing with me or at me, you're still smiling.
Absolutely. And guys, I appreciate y'all being here. And until next week, hope y'all take it easy and may God bless.